A forgotten artifact lies in pieces on a planet far from Earth. Few know it exists except those who took it back and those whose ancestors created it. 4 young people are thrown into a race against emissaries of the gods to find its pieces. Mistrust, greed, and magic are tangled in an endless web. What will the fate be of the universe once it is found and reassembled? Get Scepter of the Gods, The Rod of Truth now on Amazon, and get wrapped up in the saga that will not let you go.
Good morning, and welcome to the Motivational Devotional, where we are merging motivation and spirituality to create a daily dose of confident positivity. I hope that this morning's podcast will help you to be more spiritually and positively motivated so that you can transform your day. This is a special episode in a series of podcasts based on Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. For several years now, I have gone back to the habits taught in this book to prepare for the coming year and home in closer and closer to my lifelong dream and my goals so that I could more effectively achieve my goals. Year after year, we hear people joking about setting New Year's resolutions and then abandoning them by February. Personally, I don't find that very funny. I hope that your resolutions are more important to you than to give them up after only a month or two. What if you were to set 1, 2, maybe 3 at the most resolutions or goals for 2024, and then at the end of 2024, find that you nailed each one of them? You can. I set 2 goals that to me were very large. As I talk about in the Motivational Devotional, I had to change and grow to become more than I was in order to achieve those goals. As I say this now, I have done that. I changed. I grew. I achieved. Starting with the November 27, 2023 podcast and running through the New Year's Eve podcast, this series offers 35 episodes of principles, inspiration, and motivation that I use toward fulfilling my own lifelong dream. I have audacious goals for 2024, but only 3, because more than that will water down your efforts. I will achieve mine by this time next year. You can do the same. And I hope you will pursue yours with relentless intent. If you find these helpful, please go to the Motivational Devotional Facebook page and let me know. For now, let's get on with it. Have you ever planted and grown a garden? Experts recommend first drawing out a plan. You don't just throw out a bunch of mixed up seeds and hope for the best. I have this area in the front of my house where the previous homeowner liked having flowers, and she had planted some ground cover and shrubs. Over a couple of years, the shrubs and ground cover were out of hand and the flowers were gone. In short, the whole area needed an overhaul, and so I decided that rather than gouge out part of the backyard and create something that would become an instant playground for critters, I would utilize this cultivated area to be a vegetable garden. I could have just picked up some plants somewhere and stuck them in the ground, but then I would have to have watered them every day, and it might not have looked like much. What it needed first was a plan. So I went out, looked it over carefully, took a few pictures, measured, and drew out what was already there on a piece of paper. Then I made a list of things I liked to eat and that I thought I could grow in that space. I erased parts of the drawing here and there and wrote what would go where until I had a good plan, and then I did not go buy plants. In the past, when I've had a garden, I plant a beautiful collection of things, and for a couple of weeks it looks like something in a magazine, right up until I began putting off watering. Because it rained. And then it seemed like it was yesterday, but really it's been almost a week, and I go out and almost everything is wilted. Knowing my tendency to forget, I compensated by buying enough soaker hose, connections, and a Bluetooth timer faucet attachment thingy so that everything would be watered regularly throughout the summer. Part of making a good plan is to compensate for your own weaknesses or tendencies before you start. Then, when that was arranged and in place, I went out to buy plants. I ended up with a lot of food over the summer because of some good planning, even though it was over a month before I could pick anything. Whether you plant vegetables or flowers, the process is very much the same. You plant and water seeds, fertilize, nurture the seedlings, pull weeds, and after a period of weeks, you have the payoff. Either you have beds of beautiful flowers or you have plants bearing some of the tastiest vegetables you can get. It doesn't happen immediately. Those of us who don't want to nurture seeds buy flats of seedlings. but we still have to wait weeks before we have the payoff. Wouldn't it be great if you could buy a 6-foot tomato plant with tomatoes on it, plant it, and harvest tomatoes the same day? Cool, huh? Well, that would be harder and probably more expensive than just buying tomatoes from the produce department, so you might as well do that. That kind of suggestion sounds ridiculous, but some people live life that way, working urgent issues for immediate payoff. The things that require patience are just too much trouble. I'd rather get it now. I'll just do this instead. But if you never do anything with the approach of planning and planting a garden, then you will always live from crisis to crisis. When we live our lives from crisis to crisis, we get an immediate payoff like an adrenaline rush or quick resolution to problems. We're out of tomatoes and in the middle of making dinner, so run to the store, buy some. Crisis solved. Deal with it. It's done. Put it away. The job isn't satisfying, and he feels like he needs a bigger challenge elsewhere, but he puts it off and then gets fired. So finding that other job is then a crisis, and finding the best, most satisfying opportunity is a luxury at that point. Or you have a lifelong dream, but working toward it feels like a lot more work than planning and planting a garden, so just wait until tomorrow or even later to even think about it. And so crisis after crisis makes it nearly impossible to realistically start. Living with the end in mind and planting seeds for a positive future means that we have to wait. We don't get an immediate payoff, which makes the temptation of living in a constant state of urgency so tempting. So when all crises are solved or put to rest temporarily, we're so exhausted that we turn to enjoyable, less important things to get a break, and those long-term interests are still neglected. We have to carve out time for the patient, wildly important efforts that may take a long time to bear fruit. When we start to finally see the payoff from those long-term goals, we can more easily give up the lure of immediate visible gratification. Your dream might be to have that CEO position, but you're not going to go straight from a floor position to the top office. It takes patience and planning to get there. Your dream might be to hold a political office, run a not-for-profit, organize a charity event, or start knocking away at your bucket list. But you won't get any of those if you don't plan and work toward them with patience. We can be designers of an awesome future, but we have to lay it out specifically. The inspiration comes from spirit, but just doing the urgent adrenaline stuff every day doesn't mean that we are trusting spirit to work out the future in alignment with the universe. We use inspiration to specify that awesome future, plant the seeds, and press on toward it with relentless intent, which is the same as patient persistence. In the end, it will be the best payoff we've ever tasted, and we will taste it because all of creation is conspiring in your favor. Trust that the universe always has your back. Stephen Covey wrote, "If we don't have a clear idea of what is important, of the results we desire in our lives, we are easily diverted into responding to the urgent." Thank you for taking the time to listen today. Please help keep this podcast going by following the Motivational Devotional Facebook page, following @Threefold-Way Radio on Twitter, and sharing the written format of today's message from motivational-devotional.com on your social media. I am deeply grateful for your support, and thank you for letting Motivational Devotional be part of your journey. Peace out. See you tomorrow. Motivational Devotional is a production of Threefold Way Radio, LLC.